Hey, welcome back to What the Biz. We're back after a short break. We'll tell you more about that. But today, what I want you to think about is if you're running a business between $500,000 and maybe like 750,000, maybe you're living through a specific kind of like torture right now. On paper, you're feeling like you made it because the revenue feels great. But like you built a business that's $500,000 or more, you hired a team, you stopped doing all the work yourself. But for some reason, when you look at that bank account, every Friday after you payroll and everything, you just like, where'd my cash go? Why am I making nothing? Well, we're going to talk all about that today and how maybe you accidentally built a nonprofit.
Welcome to What the Biz, where we talk about building successful businesses, balancing life, and all the WTB in between. With your hosts,
I'm Bridget Vector.
And I'm Dan Prochko.
Well, hello.
Hello.
We are back after a short break. Think of it like a mental health stop. We're very sorry we didn't tell you. We actually had some emergencies that were going on that we had to deal with. So we took care of those, and things are doing better. All right, all around. But we are back for you here today and excited to talk about this topic. But first, Bridget, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. We were kind of chatting before we came on to record. You know, we're recording on a different day today too. So like the week is interesting, and I'm like,
yeah,
it's a Friday that feels like Monday. Like business is good, life has calmed down, clients are great for the most part, but there's like those just little things that happen, and it's like, it's Friday. Like we shouldn't be having this happen right now, but it reminds us we're in business.
No, you're totally right. It does feel very different to record on a Friday versus the Wednesday we usually record. It's like 2 days. But something about that middle of the week is like, okay, cool. Yeah, this is like the mark that the week's almost over. Great. But doing it on a Friday is like, why do I still feel like I have more days to go? Like this is not right, you know? So totally. Yeah.
How are you?
Busy because we just signed 2 more clients. We are now actively in hiring mode. Just because the projects are too much. They're all like, they're not just projects, but ongoing work afterwards. But we got to get through the projects to get to that. And so, yeah, so we're in that mode. We basically have 5 websites going on simultaneously right now. Multiple Google ad account revamps and, analyses, kind of like when you do your book cleanups, we're doing ad account cleanups. We've got 2 SEO projects, and it feels like there's more, but there's not. I think that's it. Yeah. That. Well, oh yeah, and all the normal day-to-day stuff, So and that. So there you go, and that. Yeah. So it's exciting. It's actually really cool stuff. I'm really having some fun. I keep talking a lot about cleaning companies, but the 2 newest clients we signed are limousine companies.
Oh.
And so it's a little different, but still service-based, getting your quote requests, exactly same stuff. So just really cool working in a different industry. It's one industry we've not worked in before, transportation, in that way, of the 20, 30 industries we have experience in. So it's like, cool, something new. Here we go. Let's apply our best practices here and just see what we can do. So it's exciting. So it's fun. It's fun.
That's awesome.
I don't know. Exciting might not be the word. It's more like, inspiring in terms of like motivating. It's cool. It's something new. It's that, something in that realm, like curiosity. I've got curiosity about this. So it's cool.
Yeah. Outside of your normal. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We have a lot of conversions right now. Like businesses that have been on desktop converting to online and like doing a lot of the integrations of their platforms. So we actually have 3 new clients that are all in the same boat where they have a great CRM system, but they've never been using it together with their accounting. And so it's been really fun to watch like the integrations happen, processes streamlined, and the owners to kind of be like, wow, I feel like I'm in the year 2026 finally.
Nice. So there you go.
That real has cool. Been fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Really cool. Well, today though, we are jumping in to talk about how many businesses, and I've been in this boat too, like you'll grow to a certain point and then you'll be like, why am I not making any money? And you realize like you just built a nonprofit out of nowhere and that's not what we want. So that's what we're jumping in here today. And yeah, Bridget, we were talking about this and you were sharing this. I thought it was just really interesting how you had a moment where this kind of came to fruition, in your experiences right now. And so I'm excited to talk about this with you.
Yeah. So this, first off, if whoever listened to the intro and heard you talking about like, wow, I hit this revenue, I'm living torture, I don't see cash, like what is happening? It is a thing. Like this is something that we see at this revenue point in almost every single business that like we call it one of the growth hurdles, right? But I was actually meeting with one of our clients the other day, and we were talking through this. So we're going to talk about realized rate today. And I know somebody's listening going, oh my gosh, we're talking numbers, but we're going to make it as simple as possible. But in that conversation, he made a comment where he's like, I built myself a nonprofit. Like, this is now where I'm at. I had all of this revenue, right? And so, like, this is kind of our ideal client land too. So I'm speaking from a place of I see it all the time, where the business owner starts out, right? You are making money because you are the sweat equity. So like you hit that $300,000 mark, if a project runs over scope or the client demands more, you just handle it because you're the one doing the work and your personal labor is free, right? But then you grow to this point and like our favorite clients are coming to us at this like 500K, 700K revenue because they're kind of like, I can't manage the finances anymore. They're stressed out, they're exhausted. They thought hitting that milestone, like I feel like when we all get into business, we're like hearing about the like $500,000 milestone, right?
Yeah. There's like key levels. There's like 250,000, $500,000, $1 million, and then like 10, 5, 10, 3 mil, and then I think 10 mil or whatever. It's like that. And each one, like there's a new ceiling that you have to kind of like bust through every time you hit one of those.
Yeah. So like they hit it and they're like, well, this isn't exciting. And they hit what I have now started calling the operational valley of death. Like I watch my clients, they either can grow through it and like they have to reprice, they have to rework their business. It's almost like an overhaul, or they go backwards and they just say, you know what, I'm going to just go back to like where I'm making a little bit less. I can handle it on my own. I'm profitable. And they just stay in the like main seat and they just handle it. And this is just a very common thing. So you're either going to grow through it to get yourself out of it, or you're going to just kind of choose to go backwards a little bit and just manage the business on your own where you've essentially bought a job. But those that want to grow through it, like when your personal labor is no longer free and you hire those employees, nobody's working for free anymore. And that's where this whole like accidental nonprofit comes into play.
Yeah, it's because we've had employees in the past. We're going to have employees again in the future, and it is always interesting because you reach these revenue levels where you're like, oh man, I'm really making it. Like I'm banking, etc. And you hire someone in. It's like, oh yeah, I had to pay them, so I don't have that money anymore. And sometimes you're not paying attention close enough. And so they're going over on hours, or you're spending, extra of your free hours. And we're going to tell you that's not free. Okay. Just because you're the owner and you're not paying yourself for it, that's still not free. Okay. And sooner or later you're feeling all burned out and you're out cash because you're not keeping tight controls on what's going on with your payroll. So yeah, no, we've been there. We had to learn that one. And now we definitely take a more sophisticated approach of understanding when to hire and what that looks like and how quickly we can. So yeah, really excited to talk about this.
Yeah. So when I was talking to this client, we actually went through their customer list and we broke everything down to what is your true realized rate for your customers, meaning how much time are your staff, like are all of your staff members truly spending on that client? Because you're paying your staff for their hours no matter what, right? So if they're part-time, full-time, whatever it is, but your customer may not be paying for every billable hour. You may not be able to charge every billable hour. You may be in a situation where it's like a flat rate fee. And I'm going to put this in words. So when I was developing a training for other accountants, we dove into this heavily. So I have a pretty good scenario that I think will make this make sense, because when people are thinking about pricing or their hourly rates, I'm going to put this into like little Timmy is mowing lawns, okay? And he wants to make $30 an hour. And he figures out that it will take him about an hour to mow like his neighbor's lawns. And so he says, hey, I'll mow your lawn for $30. And so that's his billable rate, right? Like he is billing that neighbor $30 no matter what.
It's a 1 hour lawn in his mind. So he's going to bill the $30 to try and make $30 an hour. Cool.
Yep. So one of the ways that this can actually go south with realized rate is neighbor says, hey, Timmy, while you're here, can you pick up all those sticks and maybe like blow off the driveway and trim around the garden, right? He wants to be nice. First customer, maybe not even first customer, but he's like, I can spend under 30 minutes doing that. So what happens? You now have scope creep. That is like one of the first ways that anybody's standard rate versus realized rate starts to die, is because of scope creep. Then he didn't take into consideration that he had to walk his lawnmower over to the house. That's 15 minutes. Maybe he realizes he missed a patch of grass in the back. That's another 15 minutes. So instead of taking 1 hour, it truly takes 2 hours worth of time. So how does this show up in like a day-to-day business? So for you, for me, for cleaners, right? Their commute time, their team may be, if they show up to clean a house and the homeowner's actually there, are you going to just not have a conversation with them? Like that is something that doesn't necessarily get factored in. And so every time we're thinking about a standard rate, like, hey, I want to make $30 an hour mowing this lawn, you got to remember all of the other things that are coming along with it.
Yeah, we call those unbillable hours.
Mm-hmm.
And in the recent course, that we talked about that I put on for pricing for cleaning clients, that's what we tell them. We tell them like, hey, what's all that time that your cleaners use prior to actually cleaning or after cleaning? There's the, driving to the next place. There's the getting your gear in order for that clean. And then at the end of the clean, there's the, we're packing everything up and then we're leaving. So there's all this time on either end that is part of the job, but it's unbillable because a client, if you put that in the bill or whatever, client's like, I don't want to pay for that. It's like, of course they don't, but you have to pay for the time for your employee. So it has to get built into the time. So to your example of Timmy, right? Timmy, I think you said mowing the lawns. I mean, $30 for 1 hour is now $2. Instead of $30 an hour, you're actually making $15.
Yep.
And if you need $30 an hour to keep your profit level, oh man, you've just eaten way into it and basically have no profit, and you're probably even paying. You're probably paying the clients to do their lawn. And it's the same thing, with work. That efficiency leak, scope creep, all of that stuff really impacts your revenue and profit margin. And so really knowing that realized rate, like what you're saying, which is that $15 an hour, is so key, because you want that to match your desired rate as much as possible.
You nailed it. And that's exactly what that is. So like, I know a lot of times when I talk to my clients, they're like, what is realized rate? And that's exactly it. Like whatever truly goes into serving that. So if there's meeting prep time, or maybe, things that you have to do after a meeting. So like you have a 1 hour meeting with a client, doesn't mean it's actually only 1 hour. There's a lot of other things that go into that. So then we get into the second piece that impacts realized rate. So scope creep is obviously one of the major ones, or just forgotten about little extra time that goes in. The second one is the scaling trap. So this is when we see business owners, they hire the help. Like they got too busy, they needed to hire help. So let's go back to Timmy, right? He gets busy, he decides to scale up, and he hires his buddy Jake now to help him mow the lawns. And he says, I'll pay you $20 an hour, like out of the 30 that I'm charging per hour. And that will keep him. So Timmy is thinking, cool, I'm going to keep $10 an hour in pure profit, and I'm not the one going to do the work. So Jake goes to mow the same lawn, but because he's an employee, maybe he moves slower, maybe he doesn't do things quite the same way. It takes him a little bit longer. He does the extra favors because I think employees never know like how they draw their own boundaries around scope creep.
Yeah.
It's hard, right? So
Very.
Timmy collects the $30, but he has to pay Jake for 2 hours. Well, 20 times 2 is $40. So he now lost $10 on this job. His realized rate now dropped below, like he's actually paying now to serve this customer.
Literally paying. Yeah.
This happens all the time when businesses hire staff. It's exactly what's happening to the client that I was talking to.
I would say it even happens without hiring staff. I think a lot of us as owners, we have, I don't want to say bleeding hearts per se, but we are I don't know, golden retriever either, but like we are pleasers in a way. Like we want to delight our customers, you know, and not just for the reviews, you know, because we want them to know the value of us. And so we give a little extra, you know, under promise, over deliver, all of that. And so, yeah, I feel like we probably do that anyway, just a little bit too much.
Yeah, it does. So like when I think about this, the billable rate is what you hope to make. The realized rate is what is actually hitting your bank account. And to me, it is actually the most important number to kind of keep a pulse on in your business. So a solo business owner, like when you start out, and I did the same thing, you're probably not pricing great. You're learning, right? You're learning how to price things. You can survive.
And you're probably pricing below the market to attract clients. That way you can get that social proof and even that confidence to like price higher, but you're coming below just to attract 1 or 2 clients, one, to survive, but 2, you know, to reduce that risk. So it might even be a strategy at first, but you can't stay there forever.
Correct. And I think as solo owners, we can survive bad realized rates because we absorb it, because I don't want to say we're working for free, but we're working for free, right? We can work nights, we can work weekends, we can put in extra hours, but employees don't work for free. And like, that's where it starts to fall apart. And this is also where business owners know they need to hire, but then they say, I can't afford to hire because they're at a bad realized rate and they need, I mean, every business owner should be getting paid from their business. We've talked about this in many other podcast episodes.
Yes.
But they hit this wall where they're like, I need to be paid, but I cannot physically complete all of the demand or work or clients that I have. I need to hire, but I don't have the money to hire. This is why. It's because you have a bad realized rate, meaning you need to go back to like look at your billable rates. And so between scope creep, employees, and whatnot, a lot of businesses are actually paying to serve their clients and not making any money off from that engagement.
Which is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way. There's no other way. It's absolutely crazy, but it happens. I mean, because who's the person who's going to take money last? It's usually the owner. You know, especially if you have employees, you're going to say, okay, I'm going to pay for these employees because I need my time. Because I need my time so I can do this other work that I have to do, or because I don't want to do the work. But then if you aren't priced right, you're just not going to get paid. So you didn't pay yourself for the hours you put in. And then at the end, you have even less profit to pay for yourself because you weren't keeping, you know, costs in control. So really, this needs to get fixed is where we're at. So how do we help ourselves? Is really what I want to say, because we're all owners. So I always love getting refreshed on all this stuff too. So how do we help ourselves?
I mean, and we all go through it. I go through it. Like we have these moments in the business where we have to go back and go through. It's a few steps of what I call like an audit, right? Or like a review of the business. And you have to do some calculations. And I know a lot of people don't want to, but it is what will make your business successful. And then I'll give like the 3 pieces around pricing. Like you have to build in buffers around your pricing. And I have 3 things to talk about on that. But before you can get to the buffer pricing, you need to, I never just tell my clients to sell more, because if they're selling more unprofitable work, you're speeding up the crash that's coming. So
Oh, totally. And we talked about that multiple times, and we had a whole episode dedicated to it because, you know, to the point of like, Timmy, if you're constantly losing $10 a job and all you do is get more jobs, instead of just the loss of $10 on one job, you multiply that by however many more jobs you just closed, you can never catch up. The hole gets bigger. So more clients doesn't solve this. The only thing that solves this is a better profit margin and better pricing, aka a better realized rate. It's the only thing that solves it, because you can only cut costs so far, you know. So it's just like, either you're gonna start hemorrhaging employees and firing them, and then you're doing more work. But if there's more work than you can handle, now you're losing clients. And so that becomes the negative rat race in the opposite way. So you can't cut costs because you need those costs to just operate and to make things happen. So the only way to solve this is realized rate and a solid profit margin.
1,000,000%. And this is something, so if you are driving, you maybe come back and take notes. This is something you need to get very good at in your business, or have a partner that can do this with you or for you, because this is an exercise you should go through in your business at various times. Like, this isn't a one-time and done. As you continue to grow, this should be like looked at to determine if your pricing is still accurate. So the first thing is to do a realized rate review per client. So this is where you don't just look at total revenue. You are going to look at the actual hours worked against the net cash that you're collecting for every single client account. And if you don't have a tracking or a way to do this, your first step is to get that in place. So I know everybody's like, oh, I don't want to track hours. I totally get it. Like, it stinks.
Yeah, because nobody wants to track hours, because you don't feel like a human then. Like, we get that feeling. We hate it too. Like, if we tell anybody we hire, it's just like, you're a real person. We're going to track hours, but we're not judging you on the hours. We're judging you on the outcome. But the hours are so important, because we have to understand, is our pricing right for the client and everything going on. So like, that's a real culture element. So we get that many are going to be like, I don't want to do that because it feels icky and the whole thing. It's like, we get it. You have to do it, because otherwise you can't control it. Without only things that get measured get done. And so if you're not measuring it, you can't control it.
Well, and hours spent or like over delivering to clients can get out of hand if you don't have a visual way to see it and track it and measure it. So you do this, and let's say you aren't tracking this right now. Do a specific time period of tracking so you can understand where the time is going. And this will actually expose those legacy clients. You're probably going to find that clients that you had from the very beginning are now totally outpriced. They're probably demanding more levels of effort, and those clients are actually stealing your owner income every single month. So like, you need to think about that. Like, you are actually handing money out of your pocket to that client to serve them. So do the review per client first.
I'd also say that they're stealing quality and outcomes from other clients. Absolutely. Because you're putting in this time that's unpaid, with time that could be paid for others, but for some reason you're still doing it here, and you just haven't put that control in place. So once that control gets put in place, you'll see, I shouldn't be working here. I need to work on these other clients, instead. And you have that conversation with the other client about being underpaid, undercharged, et cetera, and the whole deal. So yeah.
Great point. Then we establish what is called the floor realized rate, meaning this is your bottom line. Like, you cannot allow accounts to fall below this floor number. So how do we do this? This is where we calculate what is called a capacity cost. So we take the team's total payroll, so what you are paying your entire team, you add in any fixed operating overhead that your business has, and you divide that by like the number of realistic billable hours. So what this means is, if you have 2 full-timers and 2 part-timers, okay, that's essentially 80 hours of full-time work, 40 hours of part-time work, 120 hours is what your staff has available. They're not going to be able to be 100% billable. We have meetings, we have internal things. So you realistically assume 70 to 75% of that time is billable. That then is how you know your floor rate. So if you know your total payroll, your overhead, and you divide it by those number of hours, you cannot have any account that falls below that, or else it's going to be an operational loss for you. So when you do that audit per client, if you have any clients that are like above or below that floor rate, you're losing money, 1,000,000% losing money on that.
Yeah. So we call, like, in the cleaning industry, we call it a minimum visit fee. Okay.
Sure.
That's what we've dubbed it. I know there's others that have them, but we just call it a minimum visit fee. And it's based on what is the average time it takes to clean a home. Okay. Like your low and your high time of a certain, and it's per square foot. Like, so that you have certain sizes of homes, because a 2,000 square foot home takes less time to clean than a 4,000 square foot home. But you have a minimum fee for a certain size home. And before you get any other details for that home, it's never going to be less than that. You will not charge less than that, because you know that your team cleans at a certain efficiency. And so long as you make that amount for your current team, you will be profitable. So we have the exact same thing, in the cleaning industry, and that's how that would work. And it's all based on numbers, and through there, it's really, really important to have.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, this is something that should be gone through various times. Your floor rate right now this year will not be the same in the coming years. You have cost of living increases, you have wage increases, like you have things that are happening. So you need to reevaluate this at certain times.
What's interesting is that floor rate actually helps you identify jobs that are too small even.
Yes.
Because for instance, in the cleaning industry, like, it takes 20 minutes to get to the next house, or 30 minutes. Okay. And or then another 15 to do what, you're unpacking, you're loading, et cetera. So there's a certain amount of time built in. So if someone comes to you and says, hey, I have like a 20-minute job, well, that you're going to charge them X no matter what, they're never going to pay it. Like, that 20-minute cleaning job is just not big enough for you to even say yes to.
Yep.
Not that you're not going to make money. It's just stupid to do, because the client will never pay it, and or you would have to price it below your minimum visit fee, for it to make sense. And so you would have to just say, no, I can't do it. So that price floor helps you in two ways. One, you stop taking jobs that are too small. And then two, again, you make sure that you have your profit, for all jobs.
Yeah, great point. Then we move to probably the hardest part of this entire process, and it is the fire or reprice conversation. I think every business owner struggles with this piece because they are dependent on revenue. And that brings up another, I think, great episode for us to talk about, is when you have a portfolio where you're very dependent on one or two clients. So maybe an episode to come following this.
Yeah.
But this is a hard one because there is worry that they won't accept the new rate, or that you're going to have to get rid of revenue. So what we do in this phase is you give your legacy clients an option. And it is a price realignment for them. So they can either change and upgrade into the new target rate to match their scope of work or what is being delivered to them, or they are given a very kind and clean 30-day off-ramp kind of outline. So what this is essentially doing is that you are repricing or dropping the unprofitable clients. And this is where I have to always remind my clients when they're like, I don't want to lose them. You are paying to serve them. Like, you are losing money on this client. So by dropping them or repricing them, you get rid of the unprofitable clients, and you will probably drop or reprice about 20%. It's typically the bottom 20% of your client list. And it will free up team capacity, which allows you to bring on different priced, better priced clients higher margin without adding to your payroll headcount. Like you're just kind of you're swapping. Like you're getting rid of unprofitable.
You're swapping losing money for making money.
Yes.
You're swapping losing money for making money. You know, if you had a client that you were charging $100 an hour, but you had to be charging $200, now you're able to bring in that $200 client.
Yes.
You know, and so I mean, so long as your marketing and sales teams are doing what it's supposed to do, that should just get filled in pretty darn easily. Honestly, you have the capacity; they can get started the moment the other client is gone. You know, that's easy to do.
Yep. So if you build in a system, so for clients that we work through this with, we actually have a system that they can have a pretty good pulse each month. Like if they have clients that are moving into unprofitable, doesn't mean they're firing or repricing every single month, but it allows the team to kind of realign time. Like, are you over delivering and we need to stop that? Are they changing services? So this is something that can just kind of be like reviewed easily monthly if you get the right system in place. And I tell my clients, you should probably have a full review of this at least yearly, because then you know what your target billable is in the coming year. You know what that you've reviewed your clients, you're having the repricing, because you're probably doing annual reviews or renewals for your clients anyway. And this is just a great way to keep your business profitable and not get stuck in this, I built a nonprofit. And I would say the last thing that we encourage after we've gone through all of this is remember to build your owner pay directly into pricing. A lot of times we see pricing models that cover the staff members delivering the work, but it's forgotten that like you need to have your owner pay built in. So we like to say you need to have your delivery labor, your overhead, but then have a non-negotiable owner profit margin. We say 20%. So that means that if you get your business to a point where you can completely step away from client work, the business will still produce enough cash flow to pay you your salary that you've been earning while doing the work. But now you can earn it by not doing the work. And this is where I see that like growth, the 500 to 750,000 for owners that want to step out. They go through this and they make these changes. And that's when you can finally start to step out of your business and still get paid for your business.
I mean, to give like harder numbers, it's like if you're a $500,000, $500,000 business and you're able to step away because you've built all this out, there's $100,000 that you're getting every year from the business and you're not working in it. A $1 million business, you've got $200,000 in revenue, hitting you as owner profit margin from the business that you're no longer working in, so it's huge. Yeah.
So when I hear like clients of ours or other business owners that I talk to and they're like, we can't afford to step away. Like we just can't. This is why. This is exactly why. And it's the missing piece of your business. Like you started pricing the best you could. You probably revamped a little bit along the way, but this is where it gets serious and you have to like truly understand the difference between billable rates, realized rates, unbillable time, and having those profit margins and making sure that you're putting that buffer pricing into your business.
When we ran the pricing course for the cleaning companies, for the cleaning industry, I mean, that's what we heard from so many. It was like, wait, I have to take all of these things into account when setting my price. I thought I could look at my competitors. It's like, no, they have different cost structures. They're not you. But on top of that, that's the most important part. They're not you. They don't have your process. They don't have your team. They don't work at your efficiency. You may find out you don't have to charge as much as them. Or maybe you find out you can, and then you're making even more profit. So that's great because the market can handle it. Or maybe you find out you have to charge more because you're adding in a ton more quality than they are that takes more time. But you're not taking that into account.
Yep.
And by not taking into account, you're losing out. So yeah, real quick, there's the 4 steps that we said to do. 1, conduct your realized rate audit. Get to know what you're currently actually, charging. 2, figure out what your floor rate is. Like, what is your minimum, price that you have to charge for anybody that's going to keep you from doing jobs too small and make sure that you're making profit, on any larger jobs or anything you take. 3, fire, replace, understand who are those legacy clients that need to go or need to be realigned on pricing so that you aren't losing money. And then 4, get that owner margin in place, that 20% net profit margin in place, because that's what's really going to set you up for wealth building and also help you to step away when that time comes, or just because you feel like it. So those are the 4 steps through. I think that was a great topic. That was awesome. Really, really strategic elements here. So with that, we'll close that out. I have a What the Biz today. Actually, I have to give props. I don't use these guys. It's a nonprofit. It's called El Concilio, and it's here in Kalamazoo, and it serves the Spanish-speaking community in Kalamazoo. This place is amazing. Okay, it's like a community center. Okay, but it serves the entire Spanish-speaking community. They help with translation. Okay, they help businesses navigate the English, our English system of business. How do we file for LLC? What do we need for accounting? What do we need for all of this? They provide daycare all day long. Okay, and the facility is amazing. But then during the school year and even in the summer, they not only have sports leagues, but they also have cultural classes for everybody. And they have like folk dancing. They have classrooms. So like after school, all the kids can come there and they can actually do homework and hang out. They've got TVs, but full classrooms with dry erase boards and awesome desks. I'm just like, holy cow. If this, it's cool. So the reason this is like a What the Biz for me is just like, you don't have to be a for-profit to do something awesome. Okay, is number 1. But number 2 is when you have a mission and a purpose, you can realize really cool stuff. And because they're so focused on their vision and their mission, they have been able to create a community and a service and a business, because a nonprofit is a business that is self-sustaining, that is impactful to the community. And I just have to give them props, because it was awesome to go meet that team and to see the facility and learn about all the programs that they have going on. It was awesome. So just think about your purpose and make sure you stay aligned to it, because that's what's going to keep you, 1, keep you motivated, but 2, keep you aligned with your audience and really help you make a big impact. It's a really cool place, and they're really doing really good work.
Yeah, I think when you're aligned to impact and mission, like you're unstoppable, right? Like when you are driven by the impact that you're making, which clearly they are. I mean, obviously they didn't start with all of that programming, but look at what they've been able to accomplish and grow to, and the impact they are actually having. That's phenomenal. Yeah.
And they've grown to the point where they are now creating resources for the community to use for free, that they don't have to be part of their programming. So they're creating like sports courts on their land that they own for like street soccer, futsal. It's like a 5-on-5 with a heavier ball, and tennis courts and basketball courts and everything that the community can just come and use. And I was just like, what? So like you've grown beyond and can actually act. Like that's I would say real actualization. We've gone beyond, and we can actually propel even more value to a community because we've been able to actualize and realize success by sticking to it. It's really, really cool team. Really great work that they do. Yeah, it was really awesome.
Yeah.
So with that, what's next for you? What's on the horizon?
We are heavy in onboarding too. So like you mentioned, that's kind of our focus. We are doing every 2-week onboarding right now, and we're scheduled out through September. So that's pretty crazy right now. But it's fun. Like we're having a lot of fun doing that. And I hope to run another, coaching program. So
cool. Nice. Very cool. Very cool. We are, continuing on these projects. It's just, work-wise, it's these projects. But I have become the neighborhood president. I don't know, maybe I'm masochistic in some way, but it's very interesting, very cool. We are starting our canvassing tour. So we're like our listening tour. We're going to go door to door, get to know our neighbors and everything. So a different kind of marketing that I haven't done before. The street team, as it were, goes way back to my radio days. So yeah, it's going to be really fun. Anyway.
That's awesome.
With that, that's the end of today's episode. Thank you for spending your time with us here at What the Biz. We know your time is valuable. And on that note, if you could leave us a review, we'd appreciate it. It helps others find our podcast and understand what's so great about it. So if you learned something today, or you were like, oh man, that was a cool concept, I hadn't thought of it that way, leave us a review, whether it be Apple or Spotify, wherever you listen. That helps us a lot. And if you got an idea for another topic, hit us up at whatthebiz.com and we might make it a next episode. But until then, stay proactive, stay busy, stay working smart. Okay? I think that's the thing from today. Work smart about everything. And then we'll see you in the next one.